Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Social Contract, a Commander podcast. I'm Mike Almond, and joining me is my co-host, Alex Lapp. Alex, what's up, man?
Yeah, not too much, Mike. We got some new Magic cards recently, but there was no new set. We just did a review on the most recent set coming out on Neon Dynasty, and there hasn't been another set, but now we have new cards.
Yeah.
And they're Street Fighter cards.
They are. Hadouken!
Yeah.
I played a lot of Street Fighter as a kid. So
Did you? So you'll love this.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I played a lot of it as a kid, right?
Yeah.
But I played it in the same way that, most kids play like a fighting game.
Sure.
Where
yeah.
I either played a character that I wasn't familiar with, which meant every button was the same button and I just had to hit all of them as much as I possibly could.
Of course.
Or I figured out how to do a move, which meant that was the only thing I wanted to do with that character.
Naturally, yeah.
Right. But then I, started to grow up, which meant that people started learning the button inputs and stuff like that. And now there are tournaments and people are crazy because there's like infinite combos that you can do in Street Fighter.
Sure.
And it's like, I kind of get the doing a Street Fighter set because now that I'm saying it out loud, it is this super fun, throw things together and see if you win kind of game where you can also go infinite and be absolutely crazy. It is Magic, just, in a punchy video game form in its own way.
Yeah, you could argue that for sure.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like we had last year, or was it 2 years ago now? Who could possibly remember?
It's time is a circle. It's all right.
The Stranger Things Secret Lair set,
Yeah.
and that had several mechanically unique cards, mostly commanders, and then before that we had the Walking Dead.
Yep.
Secret Lair drop set, and that also had all mechanically unique cards. And it looks like that quite shortly here we'll be getting our, if I'm not mistaken, our first non-Secret Lair prints of those Stranger Things set.
Yeah.
I think that's either coming out in an upcoming set. We just saw them. I think it's in New Capena, the upcoming set, if I'm not mistaken. But that was quite a stretch of time between when they printed the mechanically unique cards in the Secret Lair and when they brought them into normal prints. How do you feel about that?
I'm actually fine with that.
Okay.
Like, if it's something where you're going to do it, and you're going to do Secret Lairs, and you're going to make these unique cards, and they're all legendary so they can be commanders, and that's the stuff that we care about as far as our format.
Yeah.
I'm okay with saying, hey, these are these special things for collectors that you can use as a commander, but in a certain amount of time or in the future, we are going to reprint these as not specifically just Secret Lair cards, so everybody has access to them. So it's like paying early access for a video game or something along those lines. Like, you still get it, you still get cool stuff and other stuff that you could get in the game by doing other stuff or waiting or whatever it is. I'm fine with that. My whole concern was, hey, if these are just cards that you are only going to print in this one time, and it's not a, like extended art, full art, foil kind of thing versus, no, these are cards that have unique abilities that you're only going to get if you buy this and nothing else ever. Sorry. Good day, sir. I like this a lot better. I like having a time frame where people get to have those cards, enjoy those cards, but also eventually they show up. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I never considered it a real problem that they would print mechanically unique cards in Secret Lair sets because it seems to me that that's not functionally different from, say, printing them at Mythic or at Box Top or Rarity in a normal set, which they do all the time. And I think that we've seen players kind of come around to a similar point of view as that, right? Because initially, when the Walking Dead set got spoiled, what happened? People got extremely angry. People made threats of violence against Wizards of the Coast staff. It was a huge mess. people threatened to schism from the format. It was just, I mean, I think we can say looking back on it, and what I said at the time was it was a gross overreaction and not appropriate at all. And I think we've seen that with Stranger Things and now with Street Fighter, especially with Street Fighter, the reaction was almost exclusively positive, right?
Yeah.
So what changed between then and now?
I think it was, at first it was the concern that, oh man, Rick from Walking Dead is an overpowered human commander, and like, oh man, you're never going to print these. You're going to only make these cards available. There was a...
Well, they said originally that they would reprint them.
They said that they would reprint them if they kind of had a weird context about it. Because it was if there's enough interest in these cards, maybe
I don't recall
them
couching it like that, but
it was couched originally, but then for like after Stranger Things, or not after Stranger Things, but after that and after the blowback, it was pretty much said like, no, we'll reprint these, it's fine.
Sure.
I recall it that way, but maybe I'm just coloring
was that
it.
the only reason then, that this uncertainty that they would reprint them in other sets, and that was why people got violently angry? I don't think that makes very much sense.
It doesn't. I think it's because, I mean, we love this game. We're a bunch of nerds, and people who love something that is personal to them get way overly defensive at changes or the aspect of change that could be a slippery slope, which then people decide, oh, this is a slippery slope. It's like, no, we're literally just here. We just started. There's no slope yet.
Right. Well,
everybody relax.
Right. I mean, it seems to me that it's the same thing as printing a card at a very high rarity, or printing something once and then never again. For example, fetch lands weren't printed for many, many years.
Right.
The reserve list still exists, and people don't threaten people's lives over the reserve list, I would hope. So it just seemed like everyone whipped themselves up into a fervor, and now everyone's just hunky-dory with it.
Yeah, or at the very least, it's you know what, all right, if this is the new normal, fine, time heals all angries, and now we're here. Like, I think our overall disposition was, we don't necessarily like this as a thought, we're going to do, exclusive content for these cards, but... like, all right, if that's what you're going to do, you're a business, and
but people do like it's not like they went from hatred to like begrudging acceptance.
Oh yeah,
it's like people are all over the Street Fighter cards. They love it.
Yeah. And I maybe people just really didn't like The Walking Dead. I don't know, but that seems like a pretty petty thing to get angry about.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, regardless of what incarnation it was, I think it's safe to say that it was a very petty thing to get angry over, and people threw an absolute fit over it for what I perceive to be basically no reason.
But how about instead of getting petty about that, how about we get petty about some of these cards? Because there's a lot of stuff that you could get petty about.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, though, just as an overall scape, I kind of dig this. I kind of dig these cards.
We got 8 mechanically unique cards. They're all legendary creatures. They can all be your commander. And they're in a variety of colors. Some of them are mono, a couple of them are 2-color, and I think we have 2 3-colors.
Yep.
Okay. I
was going to say, we've only got the one mono, and then...
Oh, we only have one mono? Okay.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. We're going to get into it. So why don't we go ahead and start with him?
Sure.
E Honda, Sumo Champion. 4 white for a legendary creature, human warrior. That is a 0/7. So we're already starting interesting. E Honda has a couple of abilities here. First one is Sumo Spirit. As long as it's your turn, each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Okay, so the 0/7 is looking better already.
Right.
And then it has 100 Hand Slap. Whenever E Honda, Sumo Champion, attacks, up to 100 target creatures each get +0/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards in your hand.
Yeah, this is
silly. I love it so much.
It's like a cross between 100-handed one and what's our classic defender, the original?
Arcades?
No, before that.
I was thinking. Okay,
it was the tree.
Doran. Yeah.
It's like a 100-handed one version of Doran, but it's a mono white, and 100-handed one was also in mono white.
Sure.
This is really something. So each creature is going to gain an amount of toughness equal to the number of cards in your hand.
Yep.
And
then
they're going to
attacking
assign
with that
combat
power.
damage
Yeah.
based on their toughness rather than their power.
Yeah.
So are there many toughness increasing and card drawing effects in mono white?
I mean, if you're going to find toughness increasing cards, they're going to be in white.
Mm-hmm.
I love more than anything that it's up to 100 target creatures.
Yeah.
Just because, okay, we're targeting, which there are some creatures that get benefits when you target them with stuff. But more importantly, does this... I almost feel like, oh man, I've got 123 tokens. Now I have to decide which ones don't get the 100 hand slap bonus. Like, it's very cool on theme. Also to say about the theme, all of the like special abilities of these cards are named after moves that the Street Fighter characters did in the game.
Exactly.
Which is great.
And they're not just named after them, they are mechanically based on them.
Yeah. It's very cool. I like E Honda. I don't know if I want to run this as a commander, but I really don't know that you would put it in the 99 of cards unless it is like Doran and Arcades.
Yeah, if it's like in the 99 of Arcades or another, if you have a defender style deck with white in it, which is really Arcades. And I think there's one more with white, but other than that, he pretty much insists on being your commander, and personally, I don't think that I would ever build it.
It's such a fun idea, though.
Yeah.
Of just like, oh, I'm going to have a bunch of... Because they don't even have to be defenders. You could just have...
Right. They can just be big butts.
Yeah, they could just be big butts. And okay, it's big butts, and I'm going to try and get cards in hand. It's an interesting deck. Maybe this is less of a swing, like a go wide, and it is literally a go big butt kind of strategy.
I don't know. It seems like it's go wide because you can
up to
buff
100,
basically any number of creatures. Yeah.
But now I'm like, there's like Yoked Ox or something like that. That is a 1 or 2 mana creature that's like an 0/4. It's like, 2 mana for a 4/4 ain't bad.
It's interesting. There are a couple of instant speed, like really janky cards in white that give like +0, +7 at instant speed.
Right.
Now that's a +7/+7 combat trick for like 1 mana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I feel like this is a deck that you could make with the premise of being, I'm going to make this deck because I'm going to use a whole bunch of cards that would never be used in even a mono white deck.
Right. Although
and you're going to do it.
Yeah. I think every deck that you make with E Honda at the front is almost the same. I mean, you're probably going to swap out the creatures that you make, but
the theme is very, very straightforward.
There's really only one theme. Yeah, he builds very straightforward. Yep.
So let's talk about something a little bit less straightforward.
Sure.
Because we're going to deal with our first untap card that we've talked about in a long time. Alex, why don't you talk to me about Ryu?
Yeah, we have a Ryu World Warrior for 2 and a white. That's 3 mana for a legendary creature human warrior. He's a 2/4 with training, which is a keyword that says whenever this creature attacks with another creature with greater power, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. We had this before, didn't we? We had that ability, Mentor or something like that.
Mentor, I feel like Mentor definitely. I thought there was another one that almost did the exact same thing. But this is a mechanic that we are familiar with at the very least.
And then we have Hadoken, which is 4 and a red and untap.
Alex, I'm going to need you to say Hadoken again.
Hadoken!
That's better.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's 4 red and untap, which means that Ryu must be tapped to pay that cost, and then you can pay the cost of untapping him. And then discard a card. Ryu World Warrior deals damage equal to his power to any target. If excess damage was dealt to a creature this way, draw a card. And real quick, what does excess damage mean? That means that you deal more damage than would be lethal to that creature. So if it is 2 toughness and you dealt 3 damage, then that's extra damage, excess damage, and you would draw a card.
Yeah.
So this is a Boros commander that can hit a target, and it really wants to be hitting creatures. and it really wants Ryu's
Yeah.
power to be very large so
Mhm.
that he can deal a bunch of damage, draw a card. Although, goodness, Mike, this is a really expensive
It's real expensive.
activated ability. 5
Yeah.
untap and discard. So you have to have a card to discard, which is not terrible. He has to be tapped. So you're going to need to have some effects that allow you to tap him down easily. And then you're paying 5 mana.
Well, I think the premise with it is you go to combat, you attack with something that's bigger than Ryu, so you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Mm-hmm.
While you're attacking, you do the untap ability to have it do 3 damage to some target. Or even it. I will say this: if you have the mana, it does make it kind of hard to decide if you're going to block Ryu, because if you block with something, right? You block Ryu, but your creature survives. It's got 2 damage on it. It's got 3 damage on it, whatever. Then you untap Ryu and you can target anything. It makes for a weird combat trick / post combat main phase trick. But overall,
My question is, how do we make that ability worth it, right? Normally I would look to things like...
It needs to cost
so
less.
we have Hearthstone, we have Training Grounds, which is not in these colors.
Nope.
We have Biomaster's Familiar, which is not in these colors. Most of the effects that reduce the cost of activated abilities are in blue, with a couple of them in colorless. And I think if you can find any of them, you need to be playing all of them, because this ability is so expensive, and you would definitely be running your Illusionist Bracers, you'd be running your Pyromancer's Bracers, everything that can copy an activated ability that's not a mana ability, because paying for this, Mike, that's so painful, and he has to be hitting a target to make that worth it. And this just seems like a really difficult deck to build, and it'd be very low on the power scale, but that's okay. If you want to make a janky Boros deck that cares about Hadokening creatures, that's awesome.
That's a fun deck. Don't get me wrong.
It's going to be really difficult to get out ahead of stuff.
I almost think that you have, instead of trying to play this with other creatures, I think you almost have to go Voltron Auras on this, just so you can, instead of having other creatures out there to attack with, which also gives this +1/+1 counters and such and such and such. I think you're almost just, I'm gonna put auras on Ryu to give it +3/+3, and then I'm gonna do this stuff. You know what I mean?
Right. You need to really pump him up.
You really do. And I will say it's a pretty good rattlesnake to do a Hadouken. To just not even
rattlesnake
on your
you have
turn.
to leave up 5 mana for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. It's a cool rattlesnake, but it's an expensive rattlesnake.
I mean, the last thing I want to say about it is that it seems to me that the reason why this ability is specifically an untap symbol, right, and not a tap symbol, the untap symbol is so rare, right? We see it on so few cards. And I think that specifically to draw attention to itself as, you're doing a quarter circle motion on your stick and you're doing the Hadoken. I think that's specifically why they did it. Yeah.
The flavor is great. I do love you want this to constantly attack, so it's tapped, so it's online.
Right.
It's the theme of the card, the build of the card, and the flavor of the card are all great. If the Hadoken was 2 in a red, I think I'd build this. I think I'd build that deck. I don't know if I would
I just don't understand the 5 in a red. It's
very expensive. It's 5 in a red to loot. And it's
to loot
5,
and burn a creature, yeah.
It's 5 in a red to loot, maybe.
Right. I feel like you probably want to be putting death touch effects on this.
Yeah.
Because, and then the other option is that it can hit any target. So if you give him the grafted exoskeleton and pump him way up, you can one-shot a player.
Yeah. There are ways, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It's
this feels more Voltron than training.
Yeah.
Which,
it's an interesting one. We'll have to think about that. Let's talk about the next one.
Yeah. We go from, this is interesting, but I don't know how powerful it is, to, I like this a lot. Ken, Burning Brawler, 1 red for a legendary creature, human warrior, 4/2 with prowess. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. You can pay you can pay a red or white to give Ken first strike until end of turn, and he has Shoryuken. Whenever Ken deals combat damage. You may cast a sorcery spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost.
This is significantly more powerful.
This is nuts.
Yeah, this is really something.
This is just like, I almost feel like this is opposite Feather. Like, this goes into a Feather deck without a problem. Right?
Sure.
But I also feel like what I want to do with Ken, because I am a degenerate, is I want to have a couple of cantrip kind of spells. I want to have a couple of low-cost spells to pump them up to, 6, 7 mana. And then I want to attack with him so I can throw down a 6, 7 mana, sorcery and just go, let's go. This is cool as a concept. Am I right in thinking that this is a really scary card?
Yeah, and this is really interesting because the first card that I thought of when I saw this wasn't all the awesome sorceries you're going to get to cast for free, but specifically the fact that for 1 mana, you can give him First Strike. And Mike, what can we do in Boros when we can easily give a creature First Strike it's guaranteed? How about Quende Pride Ephemeref? Quende Pride Ephemeref is 3 and a white, 4 mana for a legendary creature human knight, a 2/2 with double strike. Creatures you control with First Strike have double strike. What happens when we give Ken, Burning Brawler, double strike? Well, that means that Shoryuken is going to trigger twice.
Yeah.
We're going to cast 2 sorceries for free.
You went the same place that my head went to, but I picked a different card because it's already in a lot of my politics and group huggy decks. I was thinking Duelist Heritage.
Perfect. Duelist Heritage.
It's like,
perfect.
hey, I'm gonna use this.
I think you run all of that stuff.
But I'm gonna use it for everybody. Yeah, Double Strike is awesome on Ken. And it's not that expensive. In fact, one of the spells that you can cast is give target creature +1/+1 and Double Strike for 1 or 2 mana.
There you go.
So this is a really cool concept for just Boros being able to cheat out non-creature spells. Like, specifically sorceries, obviously, but if you start doing things that, hey, a Feather deck is, again, what comes to mind because non-creature spells Feather, or, instant sorceries Feather. That's just where my head goes. But the idea of, you know what? I'm going to make an artifacts deck. I'm going to cast a bunch of artifacts. Great. Gets prowess. Gets a lot of triggers on it. Then I'm going to put out a huge sorcery. That's really fun to me.
Yeah.
I like Ken. I like Ken a lot.
And you're quickening all those sorceries. Those are being cast at instant speed.
Yeah. And it during combat or post combat.
And if you pump him like these sorceries, you can just chop your deck full of sorceries, and now you have all these super expensive sorceries in red and white.
Sure.
There's a lot of them that are in the 7+ range. You just pump in +3/+3, and you're casting just devastating sorceries at instant speed.
Even in its word, and this is where I think I like the card the most. It's a 3 mana spell.
Yeah.
That if you swing into somebody next turn, even if you don't pump them up at all, a 4 mana or less sorcery for free is pretty good. A 4 mana spell that you cast for free because you paid 1 mana to give him First Strike to protect him, to ensure that you got, I'm going to ensure that I'm going to get this hit in because I don't want any no, if you're going to block, doesn't matter. I'm still going to get the hit in without losing my commander, etc. I like what you can do with a deck where the entire build is I'm going to cheat out some red and white sorceries based off combat damage. I think that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, this card is remarkably powerful, and I think we'll see it echoed in another card we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Blanca, Ferocious Friend.
You're going to have to help me with part of this because this is actually the card that I'm the most scared of, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, why don't you help me out here?
Blanca's 3 red-green. That's 5 mana for a legendary creature, human beast warrior. It's a 5/5 with haste.
It's good.
His first ability is rolling attack. Blanca, Ferocious Friend, has trample as long as you've cast 3 or more spells this turn. And that doesn't matter whether you cast 2 spells before Blanca or cast Blanca and then 2 spells, or you cast Blanca, wait a turn, and then cast 3 spells. Doesn't matter. It'll give him trample. Second ability, Electric Thunder. Whenever Blanca becomes the target of a spell, he gets +2/+2 until end of turn and deals 2 damage. to each opponent's. Fascinating.
Yeah. So he has to be the target of a spell.
That's right.
So if you can combo off just I'm gonna cast a spell, not 1,000-Year Storm because it's the wrong colors, but I'm just gonna make lots of copies of a spell and target Blanca each time.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage to be able to throw to everybody else and then swing with a, I don't know, 13/13 trample.
Right.
Like,
I think it's important to note here that it's when he becomes the target of a spell, and that happens. That triggered ability will trigger when that spell goes onto the stack, not when the spell resolves.
Right.
So you don't need to actually get that spell through. You just need to cast it. That's good enough, and you'll get that trigger on Blanca.
I like Blanca. I think the worst thing that Blanca has going for him is that he was right after Ken. But it's a cool ability where, trample with 3 or more spells. Okay, fine.
It seems to me that this is you're going to play Infect and you're going to play Auras, and you're going to cast Auras to pump him up, get more power on him, and give him Infect. And every time you cast an Aura that targets him, he's infecting everyone else.
Right.
And then if anyone survives, you swing in and kill them.
And that works. I was leaning into this is a spell, or this is a card where Giant Growth actually is good again.
Giant Growth, yeah.
Just, okay, great. I'm going to 1 mana, give this creature +5/+5, have it deal 2 damage to everybody.
Right. Now, my question, Mike, have we talked about the Street Fighter character you played yet, or are they even in this set?
Here's the thing. I played a couple of them. I was a kid. I played Ryu. I did. I graduated to Ken because he looked like he was having more fun and he had a very similar move set.
Right.
We're going to be talking about the character that I think I played the most, but not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But we are going to move on here to Chun-Li, Countless Kicks.
This is the one everyone's talking about.
This is an accurate name. It's silly. I do like it a lot. So this is 1 white-blue for a 3/3 human soldier with multi-kicker, which, chef's kiss.
Perfect.
Good job, Wizards. That's great. When Chun-Li enters the battlefield, exile up to X target instant cards from your graveyard, where X is the number of times Chun-Li was kicked. Put a kick counter on each of them. Lightning Kick. Whenever Chun-Li attacks, copy each exiled card you own with a kick counter on it. You may cast the copies. That's nuts.
Yeah,
because it doesn't say, even if Chun-Li is removed.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter. They're still exiled with those counters.
She sees them every time she comes back in.
And you don't only get to use them once.
That's right.
You can use the same instant every time you attack with this.
You basically create this what do you mean? You create this second hand in exile that you can cast spells out of, but nobody can touch it.
It's a sideboard that you can use whenever.
Yeah. You wish spells in every time she attacks. And it is when she attacks, right? So you can use cards like Reconnaissance to pull her out of combat. Maze of effects that remove her for combat that allow her to stay alive, but still get these spellcast triggers, right? And unlike Ken, I think you would want to stay more on the low end of your instance in the lower mana value, because you have to pay
it says you have to cast them. It doesn't say you can cast them.
But there's a lot of good 1 and 2 and 3 mana blue and white instants, I'll say.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, I like that.
Removal spells are nice.
The things that I was thinking about were delve cards. Where it's okay, I'm going to is Dig Through Time an instant or a sorcery? I'm trying to think of a good example here, but something where
Dig Through Time was a sorcery. Let me check here.
Well, check my math while I figure this out. But my plan was, hey, if I can get cards that do delve, and I can,
it's an instant.
If it's an instant that has delve to it, great. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put cards into my graveyard from my library, and then later when Chun-Li gets killed, or when I decide that I'm going to blink Chun-Li and make them come back, I'm going to take all of those instants that were put into my own graveyard, and I'm going to put them into my kick counter sideboard exile zone to be able to just... It seems like this is a card where if you wanted to get very specific value, you could do it pretty easy.
Yeah, that's the important thing, right? Is she's exiling things out of your graveyard, so Delve is going to work perfectly. It's paying for the spell, and it's getting more cards into your graveyard, more instants for you to cast. That's the perfect. You're 2 for 1.
I feel like this would be like, if you ask me what kind of deck is Chun-Li, I think it's a combo deck, which
Yeah.
makes sense.
This is a really
because all of the
dangerous
kicks-
card to leave on the table, but the problem is
yeah.
that removing her does very little, right?
Yeah.
You have to use kind of a
You have to
an
prevent an
imprison in
attack.
the moon, a lignify effect to stop her from doing what she does, because removing her is not good enough.
Yeah, it's almost like a it's almost like a Narset, like not to the same level of scary,
Kind of.
but like
Right.
I have to not let this hit the battlefield, because if it does, it's going to do something nuts, and then you basically have a turn to stop it. But at least Chun-Li isn't hexproof,
And you
so
can
there
use
you
these
go.
self-mill effects that Blue has to just dump your library into your graveyard and start sifting through it. Yeah.
Oh man,
Goodness.
Oh my, I wasn't even thinking about it, but just Windfall.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay,
Yeah,
great.
wheeling,
No, I'm gonna
exactly.
wheels, all that good stuff. It's
Yeah.
just all right. Here we go. Wow,
What's
that does it?
Yeah. Very, very
All right.
powerful. Let's talk about Dalsim, Pliable
That's-
Pacifist.
This is my boy.
Okay.
This is my
This
good boy.
is your main. Dalsim, Pliable Pacifist.
yes.
2 green, white, 4 mana for a legendary creature human monk. A 1/3 with reach. That makes sense.
Yep.
Dalsim has very flexible limbs.
Mhm.
Teleport. Dalsim, Pliable Pacifist has hexproof unless he's attacking.
Mhm.
Okay, not bad.
Nope.
Whenever a creature you control with reach attacks, such as Dalsim, untap it, and it can't be blocked by creatures with greater power this combat. So he basically also has vigilance
Yeah.
and grants vigilance to all other creatures you have with reach.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and can't be blocked by creatures with greater power.
But Skulk. He has Skulk.
It's a lot of stuff on there.
And
Yeah.
it can, okay, so he gives everything vigilance and Skulk if it has reach. Pretty good.
Yep.
Fierce Punch. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Okay. Okay, so
Ooh.
that's whenever one or more. So you're going to get 1 card per combat,
Yep.
which is
Now
not bad.
here's my question. It says to a player. If I hit 2 players,
Yes.
does that count as 2 different instances?
It does. It does.
Okay.
Okay. 2 different instances. So you want to
Perfect.
spread the love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're
I-
attacking with your reach, vigilance,
Yep.
unblockable creatures that also draw you cards.
That can only be targeted if he's attacking.
I think that's. I think that you run Selesnya tokens,
Selesnya tokens, and I'm
spiders.
and lots of spiders.
Spiders.
Spiders is where I went. We have
Yeah.
to go reach here.
This is Arachnogenesis is the best card in this. No, I'm just kidding, but it might be.
I just
Yeah, you run spiders.
this is a spider deck. This is a spiders. It's reach. It's
It's perfect.
The different type of elves that have bows that give them reach, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
there
There's-
are a lot of green creatures that have reach because green is the anti-flying color.
Yeah, it's neat. I like it when something's like, hey, we're gonna build a niche here. Yeah, it's gonna be a deck that looks very similar to every other deck like it. But how many reach tribal decks have you seen? You know,
Yeah, that's a good question.
I kind of like this, and I'm
Spiders, basically, that's it.
that's it, right? And I'm thrilled. And this is just a balance thing for me. Obviously, I want all of the most powerful cards because, yay, Battle Cruiser. I'm actually really happy that it said that it's whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card, as opposed to, whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. I don't
You don't want
like
that
it
amount
when
of power.
I don't. I don't like it
It's
when,
dangerous.
when
It
it
demands
turns
removal.
into yes.
Yeah.
I don't like that. And I think honestly, if it didn't have teleport to where it was hexproof unless it was attacking, that might not have been the case. If it didn't have hexproof, this thing might have turned into oh no, we're going to attack, and every time we hit you, we're drawing a card with every creature.
Yeah.
So I like the balancing on it. It's I wish it was 1 green and white. But It's a
That's
cool
a lot of text for one green white, Mike.
It really is. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of text for 7 green white as far as I'm concerned. But
Right. I think that
well,
it'll be really interesting in a few months to see this at like one of the top commanders for Spider Tribal.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta love when the top commanders for a tribe don't involve the tribe. But yeah, human monk. Love it.
Let's look
This used to be my main. Used to be my main.
Dalsum did?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My thought process was, well, now that I've gotten good at the game and I know what some of these buttons do,
Yeah.
I'm gonna pick the character where I have the longest reach, because if they can't get close to me, they can't hit me.
A zoner.
Yeah. But then I learned that people know how to block. So
People do know how to do that.
yeah, there is that. What they don't know is how to do a sonic boom.
Sonic
Guile
boom.
does. Sonic boom. Guile, Sonic Soldier. 1 blue, red, white for a legendary creature. 4/4 human soldier. Yeah. He's red, white, and blue. There you
Is
go.
this the first Jeskai card that's specifically meant to reference America? Because
I'm gonna
people
say
call it America
probably.
as like a
Yeah.
joke. But I don't think there's ever been a card that's like, oh yeah,
I
this
mean,
is
there are
Jeskai
American
because
flags
America.
tattooed on his shoulders. Like
I'm not questioning whether he is
Yeah.
referencing America, because of course he's
Oh,
an
yeah,
American
no.
Street Fighter. But I'm asking, is there like any other so
I think
on the nose card in the game?
I'm just saying, no, I think this is the most
This is
on
the
the
first
nose you
one.
can get, especially since no other card even acknowledges America's existence before this one, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I guess.
But whenever America, Guile, Sonic Soldier, enters the battlefield or attacks, put a charge counter on him or remove one from him. When you remove a counter this way, choose one. Sonic Boom. Guile, Sonic Soldier, deals 4 damage to any target. Or Flash Kick. Guile, Sonic Soldier, gains lifelink and indestructible until end of turn. Those are neat.
There's a lot of interesting ways to interact with this, and the first one I'm noticing is that magic W word, when.
Yeah.
When you remove a counter this way, Mike, that means this is a reflexive triggered ability, and that means that abilities that can copy triggers or cause them to trigger again can interact with this effect without you having to remove another charge counter. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah, no, I follow.
Very handy there. And then we have lots of other things, right? We can have multiple combats. We can blink him because we're in white and blue. You're gaining the life from dealing the damage. And whenever I see these dealing damage to any target, of course, I'm going to think of things like Wither and Infect. Things that Death Touch, right? Deal 4 damage to any target. That creature's dead. Doesn't matter how much toughness it has. And it gains indestructible. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm not sure where I'm at on it. I
think you
like it
blink
as a
him.
concept. You blink him.
Yeah.
I was thinking you blink him if you wanted to proliferate, so you could get more.
Yeah,
counters on him, so
you
you're
probably
never,
proliferate.
You know what I
yeah.
mean? You want to do something where you're never losing the ability to remove a counter from him, right?
You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to have to
always wanna be able to
spend
pull a
a
counter.
trigger putting a counter
Right.
onto him. That sucks.
Right.
Only the first one.
Yeah, he enters the battlefield. He's got a counter. Cool.
Now
Next
there
turn, he's gonna do something.
there are other cards, because this is a very generic name for a counter, right? Many counters don't have such a generic name. Charge counters. There are many cards in the game with charge counters, and then we have the Ozolith, right? The Ozolith can move counters in between permanents and creatures, and I think that if they had chosen a different name for the counter, this would have gotten just that much weaker.
Yes. Yeah, I like that it's I think that is a specific design.
Right.
They've given kick counters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
They chose
charge. Yeah.
They chose charge.
They could have
didn't
made it like a
Sonic.
sonic boom counter.
Yeah, exactly. A
Right.
boom counter is actually a pretty cool idea.
An America counter.
I went an America counter. A stars and stripes. No, I like him. I think you're right though. It's a good thing that he's in the colors that he is. A, because he's literally wearing it on his shoulders. But
Yes,
B,
he is.
You are gonna want to be able to blink or
Right.
something along those lines. You're going to want to have the ability
You
to
need
do
that
a couple of
efficiency.
changes. Yeah.
You really either want to be blinking over and over, or you want to be doing multiple combat phases over and over, because that indestructible, I think that's lending itself better to more combat phases. But obviously, that's a lot more expensive than just blinking him.
Oh, for sure.
And more dangerous, yeah.
Let's move on to our last card here.
Okay.
Because it's my favorite
got a
art.
bear in a headlock.
It's my favorite art by a lot.
What's he doing to that poor bear? Zangief, the red cyclone.
He's giving it a hug.
2 black, red, green, 5 mana for a legendary creature human warrior. He's a 7/4. Zangief, the red cyclone, must be blocked if able, so he has lure. Iron Muscle. As long as it's your turn, Zangief has indestructible. Useful. Spinning Pile Driver. That's his famous move. Whenever Zangief deals damage to a creature, if that creature was dealt excess damage this turn, that creature's controller sacrifices a non-creature, non-land permanent, and that is why he's in black, red, green.
Yep.
Give me your thoughts on this one, Mike. This is a very interesting Jund commander. Whenever Zangief deals damage to a creature, so that's not combat damage like most of these. You can use pinging equipments and auras and things like that to get these sacrifice triggers.
So it's not the most powerful commander of
No, not at all.
I think it's my most. I think it's the one I like the most, though.
He's sitting at the same mana value as Corvold.
Yeah.
Which is perhaps the most powerful Jund card in the format.
Right.
But sometimes you don't run the most powerful commander in the format.
I am just loving. I really like this card.
Yeah. You do. Is it because of the bear?
Well, the bear is at no more than 80% of the reason why.
Okay.
But
so
the other 20% plus. The fact that it synergizes with itself in multiple ways. It's indestructible if it's your turn. Great. It's protected. Yeah. It has to be blocked if able. So when you're attacking, you're going to put somebody in a position where they're going to have to block it if possible at all.
But Mike, what if they don't have any creatures?
Great. Then we're
going to have to give them some.
But you can, and that's great. If we can give them creatures, that's even better, and we love to do that here.
We do.
If they don't have any creatures, you're still going to hit them with a 7/4 commander.
That's true, but what I want
terrifying.
is I want to run my favorite just simple group hug creature donators, right? Give them the Forbidden Orchard. Give them a 1/1. Oh, great, you gave them a 1/1. Well, now they have to block with it. It's dead. They can't sacrifice that one, so now they have to sacrifice, well, they already can't sacrifice a creature. They have to sacrifice an enchantment, an artifact, a planeswalker. I think those are the only 3 that it can hit. Because it can't do creature, it can't do land.
Yeah.
Enchantment, artifact, or planeswalker.
Which, I mean, even then, that's pretty good.
I'm going to start hitting their mana rocks.
Yeah, you're going to blow up some mana rocks. You're going to blow up some good enchantments. And, I mean, not even blow up, sacrifice. Oh man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking in my head it's not a god killer, but it could be. Because if you make somebody block and remove a creature, and now your devotion is low,
devotion goes. That's a very.
Then they have to sacrifice. No, again. Yeah, this is the problem. This is why I make decks. This is why I build the decks that I do. I'm like, this will be a cool interaction to happen one time. And
how jank can we make Zangief? Extremely, actually, he can be very janky.
Yeah, and I mean, at the same time, you could, if you're ever like that worried about it, put trample on him. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to hit you for 7, or you're going to block with something, and I'm going to blow something up. What do you want to do? I dig it. I like Zangief as a fun card that isn't overpowered, and again, bear.
I think you just want to have as many copies of Zangief as you possibly can.
Oh man, that'd be great.
Yeah,
just put a Helm of the Host of Zangief.
Yeah, not all of these lend themselves to that, but this one definitely. Like for example, Guile, you're going to restart your counters every single time. That's bad. You're not getting really any extra bonus out of Chun-Li because you're already paying for the spells. So unless you want to cast the same spell multiple times, but with Zangief, having more Zangiefs is only good.
More Zangiefs. More Zangief is good Zangief.
Now,
Let's
when
be
you
real.
copy Zangief, do you also copy the bear in the headlock?
I think that they are literally a package deal. They're both
Okay.
in the art. I don't think you can go anywhere without.
So is
serving
Zangief the
his
human
friendly
or the warrior?
No, I mean, he is the human warrior.
Okay, well then where's the bear?
Well, the bear is just part of it. It's like an entourage thing,
Okay.
Like
Maybe he should be summoning a bear when he enters the battlefield.
But see, now I've got the idea of like the bear is actually like his trainer. Like,
do you
he's
run
sparring
like
with the
bear tribal in this deck just for laughs?
I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't put Ayula in here. It's just like
like okay, and now Zangief is putting Ayula in a headlock.
Yeah,
you can't see this happening, but I want you to imagine it happening.
Nah, look, that bear doesn't look angry. It's happy to be there.
No, that bear does not. I don't know if
laughing.
you've ever interacted with animals before. That bear is not happy.
Are you asking me if I've been that close to a bear before? Because the answer is no, because I'm not a Zangief.
Yeah, I think most animals are going to bare their teeth when they're not doing so hot. I mean, Zangief doesn't seem that concerned, but I would be.
See, again, I'm an optimist. I like to think that Zangief is smirking and just saying, "Hey, what's up, friend?" And the bear's like, "Ah, it's been a long time." Like you do.
I like how you can see the skin and fur of the bear like bunching up because he's got it in such a tight headlock. Yeah.
You know what the best thing about an audio medium is? Talking about how cool something looks. Okay, why do we do this every time?
All of you should go on to TCG Player. Look at the Zangief card. Well, you can't go on TCG Player, but you can go on the Secret Lair drop and buy it there if you're so inclined. Yep. I think this is going to end up being a bit of a shorter episode, Mike, because this set review has 8 cards in it. But you know what? That's okay.
You know what? Every once in a while, we're allowed to do that. I think,
right?
Especially when sometimes we do episodes that are 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, so. We'll borrow half of another episode and just tack it on this one.
What's your favorite commander out of the set?
That's a good question.
Not most powerful, unless it that happens to coincide. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite commander?
Favorite commander out of these? That's a good question. I mean, Chun-Li is the most powerful, and it's. I don't think that I would answer Chun-Li because she's the most powerful. I think I would answer Chun-Li because she has. You have a lot of options, right?
Yeah, I think her ability gives you the most amount of
You're allowed to go
things you
anywhere
can do.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
As long as it's an instant, which in white and blue there are literally thousands of instants.
Yeah. You're not going to be lacking options here.
And many of those are politically active. Mm-hmm. Hello. And I think that if you were to include a more political group hug angle with this deck, I think people might be a little bit less afraid of it even.
Sure. I'm not going to lie. Like, I think you're right. I think you're right that Chun-Li is probably the most powerful one. But man, Ken is
so cool.
It's so cool and it's scary to me as far as like, I don't know if you're the most powerful or not, but you definitely do the thing that is the most outwardly scary on the card to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Chun-Li's probably the most powerful. I do love Zangief though. I think Zangief's my favorite of
So here's my problem with Chun-Li. Every one of these has an epitaph, a title, right? Guile's the Sonic Soldier. Zangief is the Red Cyclone. Mm-hmm. Blanca is the Ferocious Friend. And Ken is the Burning Brawler. Chun-Li is Countless Kicks.
Yep.
That's not an epitaph. That's a grammatical train wreck. You could say Chun-Li of the Countless Kicks. You could say Chun-Li Countless Kicker. But Chun-Li Countless Kicks doesn't make any sense as a creature. Maybe as like a spell, as like an instant or a sorcery. Be like, oh, this is my Countless Kick spell. But I don't know. That just bothers me.
I think the premise is that at a certain point, you're not worried about the words on the card because you're just worried about seeing that instant for the 5th time in this game because it keeps coming back because of all of the countless kicks.
Yeah, kind of like this
right.
plane that's been circling above my house for the entire episode.
That's all right. That's just they're searching for you. They're see if you need.
I think they found me. I think.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If anybody wants to check in on you and see
Sure.
if the plane found you safely and if you have been escorted, and also
To
if
the
they're-
government facility and or
Yeah.
bunker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Wizard's Bunker. How dare you talk about the grammatical errors of our cards? How can they
Whoops.
find you, Alex?
Sure, you can find me on Twitter at Lappermedic, LAPPERMEDIC. You can email me in private at alex@edhrec.com. And if you wanted to look at some of the cool infinite combos you could do with some of these new Street Fighter cards, you can look at my other project, Commander Spellbook, where we index EDH combos in a search engine.
Mm-hmm. Everybody, thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe and rate the podcast. If you want to buy any of the cards we talked about, well, that's something you're going to go to the normal link that we send you. But if you want to buy any of the cards to go into the 99 for any of these, you can support us by going to bit.ly/EDH_social. We also have a Discord link in the show notes as well. You can go there to submit cards for, ooh, can I see that? Or ask our honorable judge, Alex, a question. Please follow us on Twitter at EDH_social or email us at thesocialcontract at edh@gmail.com. This has been a really good time. I think we can both safely say, you win. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.